Chapter 248, Worst Case Scenario. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Twice Abstracts. I'm back late, but I'm back to talk about chapter 248 ahead of chapter 249 and give you guys a glimpse into what I'm thinking about and the narrative that's being told in Four Nights of the Apocalypse. So let's get into it. This chapter doesn't have a lot to it. It's just recovering from Lancelot being a merchant of chaos now and back to the world of Britannia and dealing with the aftermath of all of that. But I think that this chapter hides one very, very big detail very good. And so far, from what I've seen on the internet, nobody's really catching this. Nobody's really talking about it. And I want to talk about it. It's the fact that the Knights of the Holy Grail have never seen anything other than a human, despite some members such as Galahad and Issei being part fairy or being part demon or being part goddess. And that raises some questions for me. I don't know about you guys, but I remember watching Seven Deadly Sins, originally the anime. That's where I started with the series on Netflix. I'm sure a lot of you have too. The opening narration went something along the lines of, this is a story long before the non-human worlds and the human worlds were forever divided. And then, you'd get into the intro music, and then we'd get into what was actually happening. And I remember watching that intro and wondering when we were going to get to the point where we would have all of the fairies, the giants, the goddess, the demons all separated, but that never really came to be. Instead, we're building up other things, Meliodas and finding the seven deadly sins. What really happened to the seven deadly sins? Are they disbanded? They still haven't, found Escanor by the point that they address the whole thing that happened 10 years ago. And then we get right into the intro of the 10 commandments, which, all of this was, good and nice, but it took away from the part where the worlds were forever divided. And eventually you get to a point in Seven Deadly Sins where that never ever got addressed. And so you get the sequel series titled The Four Nights of the Apocalypse. And if you think anything like how I think, this is, well, the Four Nights of the Apocalypse, surely it's about four heroes, but the Four Nights of the Apocalypse aren't necessarily heroes in any sort of lore. They're more like anti-heroes, if anything. If you want to divide it black and white, hero villain, they're more like anti-heroes. And you kind of wonder why that might be the case as you start to get through a third of the series of Four Nights of the Apocalypse. And, Tristan's the Knight of Pestilence, Percival's the Knight of Death, Lancelot the Knight of War, and Gawain the Knight of Famine. But what apocalypse? Okay, so the apocalypse of Camelot, Arthur, fake Arthur, Cath, running Camelot, taking chunks of Britannia, enslaving people, fantasy. Okay, but we shut that down. Fake Camelot doesn't exist. Nobody follows Cath anymore. Cath still existed as a threat, before these last couple chapters. But again, I asked, what apocalypse? And so going back to the Knights of the Holy Grail, them never seeing humans, I think that's the apocalypse in itself. Maybe whatever happens in the future, maybe the Knights make a decision that the human world and the non-human world should be divided on different planes of existence altogether, just entirely different realms. The demons and the goddesses already live in different realms altogether. They live in different dimensions. You have to literally travel through portals to get there. And I'm thinking this is a very normalized thing in Four Nights of the Apocalypse and in the Seven Deadly, well, not as much as the Seven Deadly Sins, but especially in Four Nights of the Apocalypse, it's, you need some sort of sacred enchantment to get to the fake Camelot. Okay, what's the portal to the demon realm? Okay, how do we get to the goddess realm? And I think that becomes to a point that, the Knights of the Apocalypse realize that they can use that to maybe put an end to, the world and its never ending peril. So that's a detail that I think is being overlooked in this chapter, and maybe it gets addressed in the next chapter. I don't think so. I think it's something that slowly gets addressed because they say it here and it just gets washed over by the grief of Gawain, Tristan, and Percival, followed by a shot of Lancelot and the carnage he just wrought in one swing, and it seems like he kills off Kath, which I think that's been like the talking point of this chapter is, whoa, did he just kill Kath? And quite frankly, it doesn't matter if Kath is dead or not. He accepted Kath's will. Like, the deal was Guinevere gets to remain safe if he accepts Chaos and Kath will. So now, for better or for worse, Lancelot is he's some combination of himself, Kath, and Chaos. That's just what it is now. So it doesn't really matter if Chaos is, or if Kath is alive or not. But anyways, I know that this chapter review came a little bit late and is a little bit different from how I normally do things. I try to be more intentional and have a clear direction. Not that this video didn't have a clear direction, but have a clear direction of where I want to go with talking about things. But a lot has been happening, and for those of you who are subscribed to me, I appreciate you. Stay tuned, because the review for chapter 249 is going to be coming out hot and quicker than it normally has, because I try to stick to a an every Sunday drop, kind of let my audience get acquainted to what everybody else is saying, and then they're coming back around to what I have to say about it, when I might have to say about it. So there's that. Definitely stay tuned though for more than just Four Nights of the Apocalypse. Right now I'm working on something near and dear to me that I want to get kickstarted on this channel as well too. I'll still keep doing Four Nights of the Apocalypse, and that'll still continue to be a bigger thing, especially since it's still ongoing. But there are some other seeds I want to plant for this channel as well, and I have a feeling that if you like this, you're definitely gonna like what I have to say about some of these other things I have coming down the pipeline. But anyways, take care of yourselves. Thank you.